Well, here we are, guys. I'm here to do what is now my movie review for Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace in the build up to this week's release. That's right, this week's release of Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens. I'm going to pump out all my Star Wars movie reviews in the lead up to the film, and we'll be doing, hopefully, I think I may be joined by someone or a friend or two for my review for the film that I should be posting about a week from now, just over a week, and that. But within the week, I will be seeing the film. Now, getting into this, I can't kind of wait to kick this off, and that getting into this my Star Wars reviews in the build up, because it makes me think of how close we are to The Force Awakens, so I can't wait to actually get into this. So I'm here now to do my review, or just give you my thoughts on The Phantom Menace, the first film in the prequels. I'm going to be doing them in, of course, timeline order, so I'm just going to start with Episode 1, and that, of course, it's not the first Star Wars movie, as we know, and that, but so I'm going to start with, the Phantom Menace. So getting right into this, and that, this was one of the most anticipated films at the time, one of the most anticipated films of all time when it came out, and that there was so much hype around this film. Now I was around for when it was released, but I wasn't kind of old enough to really see what was kind of in the media and everything, the media sphere. But you can look back on it and see how crazy it was, and that, and it was insane. It was huge, and that but this film was also not only one of the most anticipated films of all time, but one of the biggest disappointments to Star Wars fans, and that critically and everything. And this is why I'm going to just share my thoughts right here. Did I like the film? You know what? Okay, I don't mind The Phantom Menace. Okay, it is one of the weakest Star Wars movies. I don't mind it, and I will get into my positives to start with, and then I will get into the negatives, because there's clearly negatives in this film, and that. But I will definitely get into my positives to start with, and to start with, I'll get into most most of the performances are pretty solid. I thought Liam Neeson's fairly solid in this film, and that he was, yeah, he just did his role. Ewan McGregor was, I reckon, made a very good Obi-Wan, and that yeah, he was a very good Obi-Wan. I thought Natalie Portman was a bit wooden, I guess you could say. Jake Lloyd's Anakin. We'll come back to that and everything. Ian McDermott as Palpatine. I thought he was very good. I thought he was very good. I believe Ian McDermott played the Emperor back in the original trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. And that back in Return of the Jedi, that is correct. Yes, he did, and I thought so. But so Ian McDermott was around to do that, and yeah, saying that, Ian McDermott was very solid in this film, fitting back into his kind of role of Palpatine, who we know goes on to be the Emperor and everything. And yes, that is right. Look, I'm going to be talking spoilers in this, so you should really know by now if you're watching this, and that and everything. I would assume you'd know by now. But yeah, Ian McDermott's solid. You have Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, C3PO and R2D2. Yeah, they just do their jobs. They're fine. And Frank Oz as Yoda, yeah, he's fine. And so the performances are fairly solid for the most part. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, a little bit up there and everything. So the performances are fairly fine for the most part and everything. So yeah, I didn't mind it. I really liked Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's relationship in the film. I thought Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor worked really well on screen together. I thought I liked what they did with them, even though I think we could have seen more from them with what happens at the end of the film. I reckon there could have been an extra emotional punch there. I thought we could have seen more from them, and they could have. I just thought there could have been more there and everything. That was a little bit one of the disappointments to start with and everything. I thought there could have been more in the film between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, but that's just my opinion. And it has been a little while since I've seen the film, but I have seen it so many times and had such a kind of memory of it. Pretty sure. And that, yeah, then yeah, I'll get on to that. I will mention Jake Lloyd's Anakin now, though. I'll get out of the way. he hasn't acted since, I don't believe. He did a couple acting roles, but I think he stopped acting after this. He hasn't acted since, and look, I'm not gonna say, oh, thank God or anything like that, because who knows where this kid could have gone if he got more acting lessons and everything. But he wasn't the greatest Anakin kid. Now he didn't annoy me as much as some people hate Jake Lloyd's Anakin, and they really just don't like him at all. He didn't annoy me to that extent. I didn't hate him. I just he was yeah he was just there. I didn't like him. I'll say that I didn't like him that much, and that which is well, very yeah his performance. I mean, more so. I didn't very much buy into his performance that much. He is a kid, but you can't. People make up the excuse saying, "Well, he's a kid." It's like there is some fantastic child actors out there and everything. Like I don't think that's a very good excuse if you ask me. And that there is some fantastic child actors out there, but yeah, that's sad anyway. I apologize. Um, But going with Jake Lloyd's Anakin, we did get one of one of the most fun, crazy, or not craziest, but just one of the most fun scenes from the Star Wars prequels and from this film, and that is the pod racing scene, which I thought was a ton of fun and everything. Yeah, what do I have to say? Like how well it was shot and done, and how fast paced it was, and the adrenaline with it, and how kind of intense it was, and just it was so much fun. The pod racing scene, the pod racing kind of part of this film was a ton of fun. I'm glad how well George Lucas actually managed to pull off that part of the film. He did it excellently, if you ask me. As well as that, you had Darth Maul in this film, played by Ray Park, who I forgot to mention under the performances. He did a very, very solid job for the role he was in, and that which didn't require a lot of dialogue, but when it comes to his kind of physique, I guess you could say, and his skill with his body and everything, with his fighting and stuff like that, he did a very excellent job. And that because as we know, Ray Park he's the he's a very fit individual, you could say. I'm forgetting the word you would use, but he's a very fit individual, and that he's done work before. He played Toad in the X-Men, and that which is very funny. And I believe there's probably better roles he's done than Toad that I'm failing to remember, but that is the one that comes to mind. He did play Toad in the original X-Men movie, as well as Toad. He plays Darth Maul here in The Phantom Menace, and he does a very fine job as Darth Maul. I very much liked him as Darth Maul. I very much liked Darth Maul in this film. Yes, he was so mysterious, and I just liked the mysterious kind of dark vibe coming off of him, and how they kind of played him, and how he played him, and how he was guided and everything like that. Because Lucas, yes, he made some pretty bad decisions when it came to making this film, but there was some pretty good stuff he did as well. And I thought Darth Maul was one of them, except for how they ended up with Darth Maul, with him having to die at the end. You could have done so much more with Darth Maul. I don't know if he necessarily needed to die at the very end, and that despite him killing Qui-Gon and everything. But that's that. But with Darth Maul, you also had a fantastic Jedi, like the lightsaber battle at the end of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul, which I should get into more later on in this review, but I'll just touch on it out of the way. I thought the lightsaber battles, we only really got one full-on one in this film. We got a brief one on Tatooine with Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, but then we got another one at the end of the film, which is full-on, and that was I think it was really damn good, a really damn good lightsaber battle. The only problem with it, when you watch it over and over, you can notice stuff like, I noticed someone point this out to me, and really they're right. I think they're right and everything, and that is when it comes to the prequels lightsaber battles, and in this film it is the same, and it feels like a dance. It feels like a choreographed dance and everything. If you get what I mean, you can tell it's like 1, 2, crouch, 1, 2, jump back, 1, 2, jump to the side. You know what I mean, and everything. So it's like you can kind of tell. Unlike I don't really want to compare until I get to talking more about the originals when I get to reviewing those films. But you know what I mean though. it felt a bit like a choreographed kind of dance, but even though it was done very, very well, I thought it felt too choreographed at times, and that came with most of the lightsaber battles in the prequels. But that's getting into this whole trilogy, the first trilogy I'm covering and everything. But that was that anyway. As well as the lightsaber battles, which I may get back to how this film ended. We have Jar Jar Binks. Yes, Jar Jar Binks, one of the most talked about, and it's funny to say this, but he is one of the most iconic pop culture images now, with how kind of hated he can be. But some people love him. Some people love Jar Jar, but some people just despise him. And that played by Ahmed Best. Nothing against Ahmed Best. I'm not familiar what else he did, but you know what? I will admit I don't hate Jar Jar, but I I don't necessarily like him either. I don't find him annoying as some people do, as most people seem to do. I don't find him necessarily annoying. I just don't see the point of why they made him like he is, and that because he's not all that funny. When you're young, if you grew up like when I was growing up watching these films and everything, I laughed at Jar Jar. He was probably one of my favorite characters, Jar Jar. And that, but when you go on, and everything, so maybe for younger kids he's kind of funny, but then he just makes these silly jokes, and he's just not funny, and you just don't see the point of him. He could be a much better story, pivotal character, which he kind of is, I guess, to some extent, and everything. But yeah, other than that, Jar Jar's just like I think they could have done much better with him than turning him into what they did. And of course, he was named by George Lucas's children and everything. And not to say his name made the character bad. It's just Lucas. Yeah, Lucas was kind of just on the. This is all his kind of wanting to sell toys and everything. And I think that started in Return of the Jedi, which I'll get to and everything eventually. On that, but at least with Jar Jar, it led into not necessarily meeting the Gungans, because the Gungans they weren't they weren't much better. They were okay and everything. I didn't mind some of them, a couple of them. Um, well, we only really met three of them, didn't we? And that, well, we met Boss Nass, who I don't think was particularly a Gungan, was he? I think he was actually. He was just a very large Gungan. So, and then you had I was gonna say Saboba, but no, it's not Saboba. The other guy, the other Gungan with the mustache and everything, you had him. So he didn't really move. So it was really no Gungan I really cared for. But at least with the Gungans, you had the Battle of Naboo, which was fun. I guess you could say the Battle of Naboo was fun between the Trade Federation, who they're okay. Trade Federation, I don't mind them. I don't. I say that about most things and that, which can sound boring and that, but really, I don't mind the Trade Federation all that much, and that they're pretty basic though, of just being these robots who are just like Roger, Roger, Roger. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really care for them that much. I don't have much of an opinion on them, and that I thought, yeah, you could have had, yeah, more cool old classic kind of Clone Wars. George Lucas could have done something really cool here, but he just made droids that go Roger, Roger. Like, yeah. Yeah. Then what else we have here? We have the use of CGI. I'm not against CGI, but I think some actually, well, this actually comes under probably the positives of the use of CGI. Honestly, I thought the CG in this film was actually rather fantastic, and that I thought it was really damn good. And that, and I very much like that. I thought maybe it was used, even as good as it was, I didn't think it needed to be used as much as it was. And that, like, I know it worked. And people say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I can understand that, but it's just, I think it was used more than it needed to be. And that, which look, if it's working, that's fine. But I just think that it's like in the new Force Awakens and the originals, and that they had CG mixed with practical, and it worked really really well. It's just Lucas was more so relying on just CG and everything. He did have some. You'd have to have some practical in there, I would assume. I need to go back and watch more of the behind the scenes stuff, because I know there's a ton of featurettes behind the scenes for the prequels. But yeah, that's it. The CG looked fantastic though. The CG was fine and everything. The CG was monumental. It changed. It's what the original Star Wars did. The Phantom Menace did it again, and it changed kind of the CG and look of films and everything, and it brought it to another level. And that was very good. And Lucas managed to do that again. Um, and yeah, going off that, I touched on how did Darth Maul need to die. I don't think he needed to die. I think you could have done more with him, and that I particularly think you could have done more with him. As well as that, you had, was it too dragged out on Tatooine? That is kind of a question I see go around sometimes. Was the Tatooine scenes, the scenes on Tatooine seem to drag out a little bit too, sometimes a little bit too long for some people. In that, maybe that's because of how poor of an performance it was by Jake Lloyd, and maybe it made it feel longer, and that, and I don't know. It was neat how he met, how he saw kind of the C3PO still in kind of in building process, and that, and how and him meeting R2 for the first time. That was a very nice scene on Tatooine. There's a few nice scenes on Tatooine, as well as the pod racing scene, which I mentioned, which is great. And that is it. Was it too dragged out? That's something, a question maybe for you in the comments. Do you think the set scenes on Tatooine were too dragged out? Do you think they could have cut it down a little bit more and that and everything? I can understand why they were on Tatooine so long, but for story purposes, I thought they could have got to the point and added more story crucial parts. I reckon there could have been other parts you could have thrown in there, maybe. And I don't know. I was curious to see what you think. As well as that, you have the midichlorians. There's a lot of people who do not like them. There's a lot of Star Wars fans who don't like the midichlorians, which is, look, I don't know the in and out of what midichlorians exactly are, but I kind of know the basic of it somewhat. And correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, and that, and I'm gonna sound silly if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like, it's like a Dragon Ball Z in Star Wars. It's like a power level for Force users, and that it's like seeing what your power level is. And that just to me sounds really damn. Look, I'm just gonna put it. It sounds really damn stupid, honestly, and I think it just sounds stupid. I don't think they. It doesn't need that at all. I don't know why I don't know why Lucas threw in midichlorians and that. I just don't understand it. But correct me if I'm wrong. If maybe I'm viewing it thinking of something else. I'm just thinking, not even thinking. Yeah, I just don't even know where I got that from. Like, correct me in the comments if I just didn't get on point with what I or what midichlorians are. But I'm pretty sure it's about kind of your Dragon Ball Z, Star Wars, and everything. As well as that, you have the Queen Amidala backup stuff of how she had the backup with Padme and everything, and that was neat and everything. It was good. It was, yeah, but it was fine, and it worked and everything. And it made sense for being a queen and with assassination attempts and stuff like that. That made sense. And going from that, you had Qui-Gon's death, and that, which I very much loved the whole fight with Darth Maul at the end. I thought it was a ton of fun, even though, like I was mentioning about the lightsaber battles, they feel a bit choreographed at times, and or most of the time actually in the prequels. And that was like what it's like I was saying, like 1-2 jump backwards, 1-2 crouch, 1-2 jump in the air as they swing down your feet or something. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mentioned that before, but yeah, you have Qui-Gon's death here, and I thought it was kind of I thought it was handled well for the most part, and that I thought it could have been more emotional, could have had the extra emotional punch. I thought they could have done more, like I said earlier in this review, more of a built up relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I thought they could have done more there, but they didn't. It's like, okay, that's their thing. But yeah, I thought wasn't too emotional. It was sad. It was sad because it was also losing Liam Neeson from the franchise as well. And Liam Neeson, he's a great actor in the right role. And I wouldn't say he was great in this film. He just did it. He just did the role, and he did it fine and everything. It wasn't great or anything. And some people may say he's great, and that's fine. It's your opinion, and I'm not going to argue that at all. And that. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I think I covered most of the big things. I guess you had um Palpatine as me. I mentioned Ian McDiarmid and everything. He fit back into his role fine. And you can kind of see how he's starting to sit in the background and being the kind of be the puppet kind of master a little bit, and kind of slow, it's gradually building up to when we get to Revenge of the Sith, which I'll talk about eventually. Yeah, so there was that, and that worked well. You didn't, and for yeah, other than that, the film was kind of, it wasn't a very it was maybe one, two. There was about two. Well, there's a few scenes that were pretty fun, but for the most part, it wasn't the most entertaining of films. You kind of rather got bored maybe watching it sometimes. And that you had the pod racing scene, which was very fun, and you had the fight with Darth Maul that was very fun. And I may be forgetting some. Look, there was some other smaller scenes too, kind of fun in there. Like the Battle of Naboo wasn't too bad, and that Anakin destroying the Trade Federation ship, I guess, was cool. I guess I don't. Yeah. Um, oh, but yeah, it was, the film was fine. Look, the film wasn't. I'm gonna say the film wasn't great. I thought it could have been done better and everything. I grew up really enjoying this film, but you kind of notice the flaws as the years progress and everything, and you kind of gain more of a knowledge of movies. And I'm not saying you don't have a knowledge of movies if you love this movie. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just, you know what I mean. If you like this film, that's completely fine. You can put your thoughts in the comments below. I'm just saying, once I gain more of a knowledge of films and stuff, my knowledge of films tells me when I get older and as I learn and watch more movies that Phantom Menace isn't a very good film, and that, but it's a solid enough film, and for that I'm gonna finish up here, giving it about a six out of 10. And that I'm gonna give the Phantom Menace a 6 out of 10. It had some very fun moments, had some shining lights through the cracks and that of this film, and yeah, I thought it did a fine. I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay. It wasn't too great. It wasn't terrible, I would say, but it was kind of boring. It was a yeah, it was kind of a boring film at times, but it did have some very good parts in it at least, and that. But that's that. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna be bringing you my other Star Wars reviews this week as the week progresses, and that they could be up sooner. They could be all up sooner rather than later. Who knows? Because I'm having a blast making these. I'm hoping that I get more of you guys watching these videos and that, and you've more come across it. Everything. I'm not a professional critic or anything, and that's fine if you want a professional critic. But I'm just having fun. And I'm trying my best to kind of just give you my thoughts and have a ton of fun and everything, and I hope you kind of get something out of these videos, and I inspire you to do your own videos, because that would be fantastic and everything. So yeah guys, thanks for listening. I hope you really enjoyed listening to this, and I can't wait for The Force Awakens. Until then, I'll see you probably in my next review, of if it'll be Star Wars or something else, but I'll have all my Star Wars reviews up eventually. But yeah, thanks guys, thanks for listening.